everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen. I love offering yoga tips and particularly I love teaching about inversions. Today I'm talking about how it's so important to strengthen and engage your hip flexors if you want to improve your handstands. And this is especially important if you want to learn to press to handstand. So what are your hip flexors? Your hip flexors are the group of muscles that flex your hip. So they essentially bring your knee and your thigh up towards your chest. Maximum hip flexion occurs if you do a high forward kick, bringing your leg up above your waist. Now, it doesn't matter if the knee is flexed or the knee is extended, both of these positions are still hip flexion, so bringing the knee and the thigh up towards the chest. When you're working with a straight leg and extended knee, you have a longer lever, obviously. That's much heavier to hold. You use your hip flexors every time you go to sit down, or you do squats, or you ride a bicycle, or you walk, especially upstairs. Most people's hip flexors are tight and weak just due to the sedentary nature of sitting in a chair for a long period of time. So even though you're sitting, so your hips are in flexion, you have a very passive position where you're not actually engaging your hip flexors. So this is why a lot of people's hip flexors feel tight, but at the same time, they're very weak from lack of engagement. Today, I'm gonna show you a few exercises that will help you to engage your hip flexors and will improve your handstands so much, especially if you wanna learn to press to handstand. My favorite exercise to work on hip flexor engagement is in a half split. So you're gonna send your right leg out in your half split and have your left thigh perpendicular to the floor. So you can point or you can flex your right foot, it doesn't matter. I like to do pointed feet when I do handstand, so that's why I'm pointing my foot here. So my right hip is already in flexion, but usually when we do half split, we're pretty passive. We bring our torso to our thigh instead of the other way around. So it's a very passive stretch in most yoga classes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna imagine that we are dragging the heel of the right foot towards us. So we're essentially really plugging the right thigh bone up into the right hip socket. You can put blocks on the tallest height. Take an inhale and exhale, you're gonna lift up this right leg as high as you can, like you're trying to kick yourself in the face. Try to straighten out your knee and keep your thigh bone really plugged up and into your hip socket and then come back down. So this is definitely like hip flexor cramp territory. So if you got a cramp here, you're doing it right. Those muscles might just not have been engaged in this way in a while. But if you've got a cramp, you're working the right muscle group. So if that was easy for you though, you can move your blocks to a lower height. Let's do it again. Imagine you're dragging your right heel towards you. Plug that leg into the hip socket. It's okay to be a little bit rounded here. Pull in the belly. Take an inhale and exhale, we're gonna lift. It's like you're trying to kick yourself in the face. Not only are your hip flexors engaging, but your core, especially your lower abs, are engaging as well. Your hip flexors and your low abs really work together. They go hand in hand here when it comes to handstands, especially pressing into handstand. Now, if that was easy, you can do it with your blocks on the lowest height, or maybe you use no blocks at all and you're just on your fingertips. Take an inhale and exhale, lift. So when the hip flexors engage and the lower abs engage and you're folded in, you're compressed, this is called compression or foldability. Now, one more step here if you want to make this even more challenging. You're going to bring your palms down and you're going to lower down over that leg. Take an inhale, try to stay really close to your leg, and exhale, lift your leg towards your chest as you straighten out your arms. And I'm definitely getting a cramp here. And then release. Woo! And you can just lunge forward. Now we're gonna do it on the other side, same exact thing. So right thigh is gonna be perpendicular to the floor and the left leg is gonna be straight. Blocks can start on the tallest height because this side, it might be different. You'll see as you go along. Drag your left heel towards you, straighten out the left knee, pull that left thigh bone up into the hip socket. Inhale, and exhale, lift up like you're trying to kick yourself in the face, and then come down. Maybe you lower the blocks down a different height. Let's take an inhale, and exhale, lift. So when you go into your kick up into handstand, this leg here that I'm lifting in half split, that translates to the leg that you are kicking up in your handstand. So you can keep that leg in a tucked in position, or it could be straight, but you can keep one hip in flexion to help in your kick up into handstand to find stability. All right, we're gonna do that 2 more times, maybe no blocks. Let's take an inhale. Exhale, lift. Lower abs contract. Coupled with that contraction of the hip flexors, they are working together. And down, and then for the most challenging, you can fold over the left leg, bend the elbows, and the arms will straighten at the same time as you're lifting up the leg. So take an inhale. This one's hard. Exhale, lift. Up, up, up. And always try to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then you can lunge into it. For the next hip flexor engagement exercise, you're gonna sit with your legs straight out. In yoga, this is called Dandasana pose. So you're just sitting in kind of an L shape here. Your hands can be right next to your hips, and you wanna try to keep your spine really upright. So you'll be tempted, I'll be tempted too, as I go through this exercise, to lean back and especially to round the spine. We're gonna try to avoid that and stay as upright as we can. So we're gonna start with just one leg at a time. So your left heel, you're gonna start to drag it really slowly like there's resistance. Drag that left heel towards you as much as you can, bringing this left hip into flexion, aka bringing your thigh and your knee close to your chest. At some point, you're gonna find a stopping point. At some point, you're definitely gonna wanna lean back and round your spine. Avoid that. Now try to lift your foot up off of the ground and kick that leg up and out, and then take it back to where it was. Let's do that one more time on this side. Drag your left heel towards you with this imagined resistance, like you're digging your heel in wet sand, and then you're going to lift up your foot, try not to lean back, try not to round, and kick up and out. Place that heel down. Now let's do the opposite, same leg. Lift your left leg up as high as you can. It might not go very far. Pull your knee in towards your chest. Bend that knee as much as you can. Place the heel down. Drag it away. One more time. Lift up that leg. Bend the knee in. Put your heel down. Drag it away. Now we have to do the other side. Drag your right heel towards you. Slowly, imagined resistance. Bringing that right hip into flexion, knee and thigh towards chest. Can you lift up your heel, kick out the leg, put it back down. Whew, and you're gonna have to keep readjusting yourself so that you are not leaning back or rounding. Bring that right heel in again. One more time like that. Lift, kick, and bring it down. And then the reverse, lift up that right leg, pull your knee in, slide the heel out. This kind of exercise is really important if you're learning to press to handstand, if you're learning to do toe taps, aka tapping your toes to your wrists, pike press. Let's do that one more time. Lift up the right leg, knee in towards that right collarbone, heel down, and we're gonna slide it out. The last exercise is really similar to the one that we just did. This is called an L-sit, and it's more accessible to do this with yoga blocks. So you'll wanna have your yoga blocks on a medium height, just because the tall height might be a little bit wobbly, it might be unstable, so the medium height's a little bit better. You're gonna be about mid-thigh-ish with your blocks. If your blocks are too far back, you will maybe be able to lift up your butt, but you won't be able to lift up your feet. And if you have your blocks too far forward, it's gonna be hard to lift as well. So about mid-thigh-ish, we push down into the blocks. Before you do anything, imagine that you're dragging your heels towards you. Can you straighten out the knees, pull the thigh bones up into the hip sockets? Take an inhale, exhale, try lifting up your bum first, and then sliding the heels back a little more, and then can the legs lift? This is called an L-sit. Hold 5, 4, 3, it should be crampy, 2, 1, and then down. If that was hard for you, maybe you could only get your butt up and you couldn't get your heels up, or you were trying to lift one heel at a time, or your heels lifted up just for a millisecond. That's okay, that's your starting point. No big deal. Next, if that was easy for you, you can try it with the blocks on the lower height. So same placement, take an inhale, and exhale, try to lift up your butt, drag the heels towards you, and lift, holding that L-sit, lifting as high as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, up, 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 1, and then down. You'll see that this translates so well to a pike press, or if you're in a handstand and you're trying to go down into your Dandasana, trying to slide through the hands. So if that was easy, do it with no blocks. This is gonna be the most challenging one. Let's take an inhale and exhale. Last time, let's lift. Up, up, up you go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well, I'm exhausted. I don't know about you. If you need a good hip flexor stretch now, click this video for my favorite hip flexor stretch. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, more yoga tips, more tutorials. I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much for joining me.